Hello and welcome to the Commentary Box Football Podcast. On today's show, we'll be talking about the crazy Premier League midweek fixtures as well as transfers from our clubs.
Waiting for your stars to align, well I know it doesn't work like that.
Hello and welcome to the Commentary Box. Yes, I am Sam Turner, and of course we are joined by Jake Griffiths. Hello, Jake.
Hello, Sam. I'm feeling good for this podcast. I think when Gillingham signed a player, although it's only a loan one, it's given me a bit of confidence to feel like there could potentially be one more before the deadline shuts. But I'm not going to be too optimistic. I don't want to give any false hope to myself.
Yes, because of course we are recording this on deadline day. It won't be coming out today, but it will be coming out tomorrow. So we're not going to be talking too much about transfers, but we will be talking about transfers of our own teams a bit, because we can talk about Swansea and Gillingham a lot. But yes, don't think we're not going to do any transfer news though, because if you check out tomorrow, we should be having something special up to do with a reaction to transfer deadline day. So look out for that. But yes, in today's podcast, we will be talking a bit about Gillingham's new loan signing and maybe a bit about Swansea's transfer efforts. But before we go into that, of course, Jake, it's been a kind of a crazy week of football in the Premier League with midweek games going on. I just want to start with probably the biggest upset of the week, which is Newcastle beating Manchester City 2-1.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. When I saw this happen, I didn't believe it. I thought, oh, it can't. Maybe it's half time or something. And it was full time, and I was like, Newcastle at St James's Park as well, and I was like, what a huge, especially Newcastle haven't even been playing that well. It's not like City have played Liverpool or Tottenham or United. Someone who's been in fairly good form lately, but Newcastle haven't even been playing well at all. A lot of angry fans, even more than usual. The same old Mike Ashley stuff. Benitez not getting any money to really bring any players in. And then I think they were 1-0 down as well, I think. And they lost to a team that weren't even, like I said, not even playing that well. And I feel like when I saw this, I thought, okay, surely that could be it for City. I could change my mind eventually and be like, you know what, Liverpool will win the league. But I had to wait until that Leicester-Liverpool result came through. But before we go on to that, I feel like this game has not only hurt City in terms of confidence, but it's almost making it a bit too unrealistic now that they're going to be in a chance of winning the league. Because I feel like they were confident that they would still be in it. And I feel like there was always that hope with City and Guardiola that, he always thought, we're still in it, we're not far away, and they kept on going. And then to lose and to come for Newcastle to come back and beat them, I just feel like it almost felt like the end for them until that Liverpool's result came in. But I feel like after that game, they'd be just so disappointed and upset with not only losing, but I don't even think they didn't even play that well. I watched the highlights. They did okay, nothing too great. It wasn't like they came close to scoring lots of times. I know they did score from a free kick, De Bruyne to Aguero. However, basically, I don't know if you saw this, Sam, but De Bruyne got a free kick on the right-hand side of the pitch, and the ref went over and said, on my whistle, and literally had his whistle in his hand and showed De Bruyne. And then went over to sort out the wall or get in position ready. And then De Bruyne just took it quickly and Aguero scored. And then De Bruyne got a yellow card for it. And I was like, fair enough. I was like, that makes sense, really. I was just like, he's trying to take it quickly, which is fine if the referee doesn't, for example, if a referee blows the whistle and goes, yep, free kick, and you just take it quickly, I don't see an issue with that. The ref can pull it back if he wants or doesn't. That doesn't matter. But it's the ref actually came up to him, showed the whistle to his face and said, on my whistle. And then he goes, and it's just like, what are you doing? It's just a silly little yellow card for him to pick up. And some City fans may think, oh yeah, that goal should have stood, but who knows? I feel as if it's not the end, but it was so close to being the end. And I think for Newcastle fans as well, what a boost of like confidence and morale that's going to give them. Like it's such a, I feel like a lot of the clubs in the league, Sam, you know, they get big results here and there. They get good victories, but Newcastle haven't really had one of those this season. And this has probably been definitely their biggest one yet. So who knows where that could take them? Who knows the motivation it could give them to go on to the next couple of rounds? And it just shows a bit of inconsistency from City, because obviously they've lost to Newcastle, lost to Palace, lost to Leicester. All of those teams aren't exactly top big teams. And can you really see, well, I know you can't, but can I really see City winning the league now after losing? Like, can you imagine a team winning the league and they've gone, oh yeah, we did lose to Liverpool early on this season, I think, or they drew, or so they lost to Palace, Newcastle, and Leicester within the space of what, a month?
But basically,
2 months.
2 months, basically. Yeah, it's. I think Man City are out of it, to be honest. But after this result, especially, I think there's obviously now going to be some frustration within the squad, and I think that's only going to make the situation worse. I think they can do well in the Champions League and kind of the Carling Cup, obviously, but I think for them the Premier League is out of question this year, which is a strange one, really, because I've been starting to watch the Amazon series from about how Man City did last season, and how they won the obviously the league, and I would recommend it. It's a really good series, but it kind of highlighted to me how well they function under Pep Guardiola. So it's odd for them to be struggling this year, but I think that's just because Liverpool have obviously got better in a way, and with this result, I think Liverpool. I know they drew against Leicester, which we'll be talking about in a minute, but I still think it's all Liverpool's now, and I think Man City are out of it. As for Newcastle, I saw a stat today about their highest transfer record being Michael Owen in 2005, and of course, there's a lot of kind of sad statistics going around at Newcastle at the moment, including that one, and also the one about the FA Cup where they haven't been past the third or fourth round in ages. So this game for them, I think, probably provides them with a bit of good news. And obviously it bumps them up, I think, into 16th place in the Premier League, a bit above the relegation zone now. So it's a bit of a boost for them and a bit of a kind of a good thing for Newcastle, obviously.
Yeah. What 2005 did you say it was?
Yeah, 2005, and I think it was like in the region of 17 million, and they haven't broken it since.
It's a long time. As more shock. Well, Gillingham's record signing was in 1998, so don't get too upset, Newcastle fans.
Exactly.
Obviously, it makes more sense that, you know, bigger club, you've been up and down a lot. You think you would have broken it by then. Yes, I get that, but things are like some clubs haven't signed anyone big for a very long time. But yeah, I feel like it's just nice. I think Newcastle fans just could be happy for one, like content for like a week, just to know that they've done all right, and things have gone well, and they've got a good result, and they deserved it, and fair play to them. I think Liverpool fans are going to be loving them. I know obviously they drew to Leicester, but it got them that little bit further, so they're going to be very happy with that result. And I think with Newcastle now, it's just almost an upwards. Just like, I know you can't really do much about the chairman. I don't think he's going to go really for a while. So they just got to sort of make the most of when times go well for them. So they're going to be happy with the win, and just enjoy themselves.
Exactly. That kind of moves us on to, of course, the Liverpool game. Of course, Liverpool, after seeing Manchester City losing to Newcastle, had the chance to go as 7 points clear with a win against Leicester. But of course, they couldn't do that. They could only draw 1-1 with Harry Maguire securing the draw for Leicester. It was a snowy day at Anfield, and kind of affected the gameplay a bit. But do you think this is significant at all? Do you think Liverpool not winning this is really going to make things kind of change a bit, or do you think a draw is better than better than losing, obviously, but a draw is still kind of making that gap bit bigger, and that's always going to be a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like with Liverpool, their aim is obviously to win every game, but more importantly, well, not more importantly, but a bonus point is if City lose or draw as well. And obviously, City lost, they've drawn, they've done better, they've got more points, they're going to be happy with that. That's the only positive you can really take out of it. Negatively, I feel like it almost was a game where Liverpool, they knew City had lost, they knew they could make the gap even bigger, and they failed to do so. And I feel like, did they just crumble under pressure? And is that showing us something that Liverpool can't exactly do that well under pressure? I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it too much. But, let's think about previously when, the Crystal Palace comeback thing and the Gerrard slip against Chelsea losing that game, and all these big moment high pressure games, Klopp's previous cup finals with Liverpool as well, all these big pressure moments where it's on them and they know if they win this they get something great from it, and they haven't done it. I just feel like for example, let's say they lost to City, didn't they, when they last played them?
I think so, yeah.
So, again, another huge game, and they sort of made a meal of it and didn't win. I don't know. I just feel like either I'm reading in between the lines way too much here, or every time Liverpool had a big game, they crumbled under pressure. And I just feel like, is this showing us something about them? And that is one of the only real reasons why I've not fully backed Liverpool to win the league, just because I've never really seen in these high pressure crunch time moments for them to go in, storm through, win the game and go, yes, we've done it. That just for me, that's what City, I look at them, I go, yes, you've done it. You've done it. You've been there. You know how to handle those big pressure moments. But then when it comes to just winning everyday games, obviously they haven't done very well this season at all under those. So it's difficult, but what do you think, Sam? What do you think?
Well, I think with Liverpool, I think we've said this a few times before, but they are such an improved side from have been the last few years under Klopp, and I think Klopp has really worked his magic with this team. I was listening to an interview with Klopp. I think it was last night in the end, and he was talking about his experiences at Borussia Dortmund and whether they can help him with Liverpool. And he said they can't, basically, because at Borussia Dortmund, he was saying that he had a very young squad. They were getting better game by game. Bayern Munich were struggling, whereas Liverpool's a completely different situation. So it might be a bit of a new thing for the whole team. But I think as a group of players, I think they are well equipped enough to deal with this pressure. They've dealt with it last year, they dealt with it the year before, getting to the Europa League final, getting to the Champions League final, and I think they can deal with the pressure this time round as well, because I think with the 5-point gap they have, it is clear that they have a bit of leeway for a bit of kind of maybe losing a game, but I don't think they will, because I think today, the game yesterday could have been a real slip up for them if they had lost it, because Leicester, of course, are no bad side, so I think it could have been a banana peel, but they did deal with it well in the end. They didn't let that Harry Maguire goal get into their heads. They didn't let Leicester go 2-1 up in the end. They kind of kept in it, so I think that actually shows character in itself. So I would actually have to disagree with you, saying I think you are probably looking in between the lines a bit too much, because it, of course, a draw against Leicester it's obviously a bad thing. But in the overall scheme of things, if you think about Manchester City, they lost to Leicester and Chelsea lost to Leicester. So, it's not a bad thing. Leicester are a hard side to beat. So unless this is a continuing pattern, I don't see Liverpool kind of throwing it away.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And I take that on board. I agree with you when you said that, they got to cup finals, they got through semi-final, quarter-final, all these big games.
Yeah.
But you could say that's the same with what's happening now with them in the league. They're getting up the league, they're doing well, they're getting close to winning the league. But I don't know, like I'd like Liverpool to win the league. I do like Liverpool. I like their players, and I've got friends to support them. Like, I've got literally nothing against them. I just trying to look at it from like almost like a factual in a way. Like I'm trying to make sure if I say, yep, I'm going to go with Liverpool now, that I 100% do think they will. Like, I just don't know if I could bet on it yet and be like, yes, that's going to happen. Like, I'm just waiting for that last something to show me that, yes, they will do it. I don't know. It's just because when Newcastle beat City, if Liverpool beat Leicester, I would have gone with them. Yeah, I would have said, yeah, I think they're going to do it. But they just slipped up. They lost my faith in the last minute. But no, I see what you mean, and I do understand that. And it's interesting. It's a really good title this year because you've got basically two top teams competing the whole time, and they've fluctuated up and down who's been leading. And it's really interesting to see what's happening. And obviously City crumbling a bit. No one really expected that. So interesting to see what happens and where it takes us.
Exactly. Of course, we do love to talk about the title race at the moment, and of course you've got to, because every weekend it's changing. Every new development, it's such a kind of changing thing at the moment. So of course we'll probably talk about it next week and the week after that. But as long as there's new developments, I don't mind talking about it. I don't mind repeating myself sometimes because it's such an interesting topic, and I think it's such an interesting kind of title race. But yeah, to move off of the title race kind of topic, as you can see, me and Jake are both kind of still in our positions that we have been for a long time. We're going to talk a bit about Chelsea and what is going wrong there. I mean, I've got a few Chelsea friends at university, including someone I'm moving in with next year, and we were almost sorting out our house, and then we were doing the paperwork, and then we all were like, oh yeah, it's been such a great day. A few hours later, of course, Chelsea lose 4-0. My mate, he's absolutely devastated. So I send him a few gifs of me laughing, or laughing gifs. Probably didn't help the situation. But of course, yes, it's a bit of a laughing situation because Chelsea have lost 4-0 to Bournemouth. And that's not great for them, is it? Because it means that they are now, I think, level on points with Arsenal and only a few points in front of Manchester United when they were kind of challenging for the title about 2 months ago and beating Manchester City. So where's it all gone wrong?
To be honest, I don't even know. Like, I don't even understand. Like, they've got quality players. It wasn't like they played a weakened team against Bournemouth at all. They had the likes of Willian, of Hazard, Higuain, Kante, Pedro, all these top players, and you just wouldn't even like have thought for a second that anything could have gone wrong, and then it just all completely crumbled apart in that game. And I saw all the highlights and everything, and Bournemouth played so well. Like, they played some really good football, and I was really impressed with how they played. And I was like, wow, they thoroughly deserved to win the game. Scored some very good goals. Josh King got a hat-trick, I think. When Charlie Daniels scored his goal as well, he scored a very, very good header, sort of flicked it over towards the back post. And I was like, wow, these players are good. They showed some class, they showed some quality. And it was like, obviously, I know they're a good side, but I didn't think they were as good as I thought. And I was so impressed by the game and everything. And then, like you said, I don't understand where it's all gone wrong. It just feels like I don't know. Chelsea aren't as solid and reliable as they used to be. You know, a couple of years ago when David Luiz was playing incredible football, and they used to have like the likes of like Petr Cech in goal, and they used to be have such a strong side. Always had it like Diego Costa up front, always causing problems for teams. When Kante came in, playing incredible football, interceptions all over the place. Hazard on top form as well. Willian was playing very, very good. And even though players who weren't that great, the likes of Moses, were coming on and playing well. You know, the players who weren't quite there, when they played, they did well as well. And it's just all crumbled, and I really don't know where it's gone wrong. I thought Higuain coming in could be an answer, but he was basically non-existent for the game. And did not play anywhere near the quality that you would have thought. And to be honest, Sam, I don't really know where it's gone wrong, and I'm sort of stuck with what to say. But I don't know whether it's like a motivation issue, like Sarri said in one of his interviews once, or whether it's something bigger, whether it's quality of players. Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a real tough one here because they've got the players, they've got the manager, but something isn't clicking. Obviously, the only thing that's come to my mind when you were speaking there was that they've gone through so many different styles in the last 5 years, and yes, they've had success with those styles. It might be kind of catching up with them having different styles because, of course, you had Mourinho, very kind of defensive, structured kind of team that doesn't have a lot of creative freedom, and then you've got Conte, very kind of traditional Italian, three at the back, wing backs, kind of a bit faster kind of play, but still very structured. And then you've got Sarri, who again is structured, but again plays a very different kind of style again to that. Even though it's the same as Italian style, it's very different in terms of who's attacking and who responsibility wise. And I'm wondering if that's taking the toll on the players, because I know not all the players have been there for those kind of three managers, but a good amount have been there at least at one point in time, if that makes any sense. So it might be taking its toll of players having to adapt. I mean, they've had 2 Italian managers in a row now, and they've got a lot of players from the Serie A. So I don't know why that would be a problem, but it's just a thought in a way. As for Sarri, I don't know if you saw the post-match interview, but basically he wasn't angry, but he was frustrated, and he just seemed so disappointed with his team and with himself almost. And I think I'm actually feel bad for Sarri because whatever he is doing is not working, and it's obviously there's a disconnect between him and the players somewhere in terms of motivation or kind of understanding, and it's really affecting them at the moment. And I don't know how they can fix it. It's even interesting, the mate I was talking about, he sent a message to me afterwards saying Sarri out, and I don't know if this was a joke or not, but it does raise the question, like, what if things are going so wrong, could it be the case? I mean, I don't want to see that because he's only just got on the job, he's only just got to the Premier League. I think it's going to take time for him to adapt and get the right players. But if people are raising the question, it does kind of make you think, well, he hasn't done that great. But obviously, I don't think he should be sacked.
Yeah.
But unless he finds the problem or tries to find solutions to it, it's going to be a bit of a long season, I think, for Chelsea in the end.
Yeah, and I feel like when those questions start getting raised, even if they are unrealistic, it does put that thought out. And once the thought is out, people start to think about it. And like you don't always think about something until someone mentions something, and then you go, "Oh, that's a good point, actually." That might, and like that could, you don't want to see it, but that could be the case with him.
Yeah, it's hard to shift that kind of point of view once you've got it, in a way. Exactly.
You could, like, as soon as someone starts saying, "Well, all this and that, he should go because of this, he's done that bad," and all this stuff, and you start to think, actually, or maybe he could, and you start to question, and could Chelsea fans be losing some faith under him? Quite possibly, because when these sort of questions are asked and things happen, that is when sort of doubt occurs within the team and the manager, and all this stuff happens. So it'd be interesting to see where this one goes, but I feel like it's showing great concerns with the player and with the manager, and they're not playing the way like they used to, and like you said, with so many changes over the years, it could be a negative impact, and it's just not quite going well for them. I think this season is actually a very weird season because we're seeing all the big teams slip up, really. I think apart from Liverpool haven't really slipped up, but we've seen all of the big teams lose to someone small, and in the cups and things like that, and we've seen it more than often. Like we've seen Gillingham get further than Liverpool and Leicester in the FA Cup, and we've just seen big upsets in terms of the league and the cup, and I don't think we really see this as much as we normally do. So there could be just sort of a big club problem at the moment where a lot of them are going under changes, and things just aren't working out as well as they should do.
Yeah, I think it's almost like a changing of the guard as such in terms of the big teams, and they're all trying to. I don't know how you would describe it, but if I remember football 5 years ago, there was a big gulf between the top four and then the sixth and seventh. But now it's completely different. You've got the top seven almost and the top six. It's changed from the top four, who are always kind of been like Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, and Liverpool, to now it's Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham, Chelsea. Oh, sorry, Manchester City. Kind of all these the two new teams in Tottenham and Manchester City, all vying for the same place, and it means that they're all seen to be trying to go for the league, but they can't all. So when we see a team like Man United go 7th or 6th, of course it's kind of like, oh my gosh, what's going on? But because there's so much competition in between them, it's almost like we're expecting too much from them. Ultimately one of these big teams has to finish in that position. So it's just like this, the expectations have risen so much, hasn't it, in a way?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, all across the league as well, we've seen inconsistencies and teams in places that we've not expected. Like, big result for Fulham, by the way, beating Brighton 4-2 and coming back from 2-0 down at half time.
Gotta love Mitrovic. Come on.
Yeah.
Bit of love for Mitrovic.
And him and Ranieri. I think Ranieri's... It's a tough job for him, but I feel like they can do it. I know it's far away, but to get a result against someone who's around you as well, it's going to give them a lot of confidence going into the next game. Were they at home? Were they at Craven Cottage?
They were at Craven Cottage. My dad's got a Fulham mate, and he always jokes with him a lot. He wasn't so confident at the start of the season. I think he basically said once Jovanovic was sacked, he said that's it. But I think he's now seeing that under Ranieri there is a chance. Of course, as you said, they were at home, 2-0 down, and to come back and win 4-2 is absolutely outstanding. And I think it shows that there is still quality in this Fulham side to go on and try and do the great escape. Because for Brighton to concede 4 goals at any game, that's a big achievement, because Chris Hughton is probably up there for me with one of the best defensive-minded coaches in the Premier League, basically, and in the UK. So for them to concede 4 is no kind of whoa. It's a big deal. So for Fulham, I think they do have a chance, but it's going to be so hard for them. Yeah,
I think it's going to be a huge challenge for them, but we'll see where it takes them. And with Brighton as well, I don't know how big of an impact that loss is going to make on their season. I feel like Brighton are one of those teams who can bounce back quite quickly.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to have a massive effect. And like, this is nothing against teams like Brighton, but I think for Brighton this year, it's just another kind of consistent year in the Premier League, basically, for them.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But yes, the last game we're kind of going to be talking about today is the Tottenham-Watford match, because, of course, Tottenham have had quite the few weeks, of course. We talked about their injuries last week, and now we can talk a bit about them losing to Crystal Palace in the FA Cup, of course. But they did manage to beat Watford in midweek, which is a bit of a relief for them, of course. They're getting Son, of course, back from the Asian Cup, because, of course, South Korea went out to Qatar. I want to say Qatar. I think it was Qatar.
Think so.
Yeah.
It was definitely something unexpected.
Yeah, because, of course, I think in the Asian Cup, going slightly off topic, the final is this Friday, and it's going to be between Japan and Qatar. So Qatar... for all you worries about the Qatar World Cup, and of course there's worries about Qatar itself, but for those people thinking, Qatar having a World Cup team in the World Cup, that's going to be terrible because they're not going to do anything. Well, this kind of proves that, of course, Qatari football must be improving as their team is getting to the final of the Asian Cup. But that's slightly off topic. But yeah, for Tottenham, going back to Tottenham, to get this win against Watford, who have had a very good season so far, it is monumental. And for Llorente to score, I think, is also a monumental thing, because I think with Llorente getting his confidence back, being in the first team is always going to be a good thing, especially with Kane out. So how big of a match do you think this has been for kind of Tottenham at the moment?
I think, just to go back to the Asian Cup thing, because I've just looked at something weird before I answer that.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Qatar's like way to the final. Okay,
Yeah.
and I'm seeing they beat Iraq. So okay, and then next game they beat South Korea in the quarters.
Massive game.
Then they thrash UAE in the semis.
Who it's being hosted by.
Yeah, and then I'm thinking, how has UAE got there? And UAE beat Australia in the quarterfinals, thrashed Kyrgyzstan. I can't pronounce that.
Kyrgyzstan.
in the 8 finals.
Yeah.
And then I looked further back as well, and like Qatar beat Saudi Arabia 2-0.
Who were in the World Cup, of course.
Like the World Cup.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is crazy. Like weird results. Sorry, that was completely random, but I just wanted to look at it just to see their sort of route to the final. What's thing that was mental, but. Tottenham game against Watford, coming back to win 2-1 in the end. Yes, obviously happy days getting the 3 points, but again another like left it late worrying game where they've only just beaten the side in front of them. Obviously when they played Fulham, they got that last minute winner with Harry Winks, and then now they played Watford losing 1-0 at half time. Llorente missing quite a lot of chances in that first half as well. Things are just not really going great. I know Son came back, and I think literally the first couple of minutes he played, he took a shot off very early, and it almost went in. And it was just like, okay, he's back, Son's back. You know, you've got a bit of quality left back in the side. Obviously, still missing Kane, Eriksen, both through injuries, huge injuries for them as well. And it was just, I don't think anyone really expected Tottenham to lack at this time. I know I mentioned it last podcast as well, but we said early on, like in the season, when we looked at Tottenham not making these signings, and we thought, you know what, all these games they're going to be having different competitions and the injuries, and it's come back to fight them, and it's just making things harder and harder and harder. And some Tottenham fans are quite angry at Poch. You know, they obviously being knocked out in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup to Chelsea. On pens and some not very good penalties at all there. So it was, and we talked to us a little bit earlier, and we sort of raised the question that a lot of people have talked about before. You know, did Tottenham need to win trophy to show success? And Pochettino almost basically said in an interview that trophy's a little bit overrated, and like you don't need to measure success that way. And I agree with him in some respects, but I feel like you need a bit of both. You need to be winning trophies as well as improving the side and keep on going and developing the squad, bringing in new players, exactly what he's done. But you've got to be winning trophies as well. You can't, like, no one is going to look back at this Tottenham side and think, wow, they were good. Like, how did they not win? Like, no one's going to look back and be like, what an incredible Tottenham side that was, because they didn't win any trophies. Like, they look back and they go, wow, they were good. They had some potential there, but they never made it. And you look back at other teams, you're going to go, wow, what a City team, what a Liverpool team. They won this, they won that. Like, you're going to see a little bit more from it, and
they'll become a team that you see on like BBC quizzes saying like, or BBC news articles going like, oh, the top 5 best teams never to win a trophy and stuff like that. They'll become a team, an almost team.
It's a bit like, you know, when in 2008 Euros when England got knocked out, and like we looked at, there's always that photo of that England squad, and it's like, wow, they underachieved.
Yeah, they're going to be the biggest underachievers almost.
Exactly, and they don't want that. That is not something Tottenham want. Tottenham have improved a lot over the years. They've made vast improvement to their squad, but they just don't have that edge, you know, to go forward and go, yes, we won it. Like, they just don't have that. And I'd be very disappointed and upset if I was a Tottenham fan to not only be being in poor form, but to not make any signing, to look out for injuries that could happen, and to be knocked out in the cup. It's not a great time for them right now. I feel like Pochettino should have seen this injury thing already coming. You know, you got to look at it and be like, we're going to get injuries throughout the season. Like, that's a guarantee. Do we have the depth in our squad to replace them? And I don't think they do. And we've seen the effect of that. Yes, they are still winning games in the Premier League, but only just. And sooner rather than later, we're going to start to see the impact of those, I think. And we're going to see games where they don't play very well, and they make errors and mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. And just to kind of go back to the point about Tottenham coming so far, They have, and I think that can be considered an achievement in itself, because of course, under Martin Jol, under Harry Redknapp, and then under Pochettino, they have progressed so much. Of course, Harry Redknapp got them to the first Champions League, kind of. They've made some big signings. Pochettino's made them consistent top four, almost won the title. When Leicester won it, they threw it away. But I think if you look at the period in Tottenham history, this is going to be remembered as a fond memory at the moment. Of course, but without a trophy, I don't think it will go down as one of the greatest moments. I think for Pochettino, what he's done, he's an achievement, and as you could call it a trophy in itself. But if you look in the record books, there'll be no mention of this Tottenham side. The only thing will be Harry Kane played for a very successful Tottenham side that were big underachievers, basically. That'll be written in the history books. But I think if Pochettino, next year, I think is make or break, basically. If he wins a trophy in the new stadium, that he'll become a hero. If he doesn't, I think, though he's done so much, it might be time for Tottenham to move on from Pochettino, or take a serious look at their spending patterns, because, of course, I can see why they need to be saving money at the moment because of the stadium, but in another sense, they need to be spending a bit of money and taking a few more risks, because they're at that stage where good financial management have got themselves there, but to go even further, you've got to take a few more risks, if that makes any sense. Like, they've got as far as they can without making risks, and they need to take one to get them further. And I feel bad for Pochettino, because I think he is doing the best he can with the situation that he is currently at. So I think the onus has to fall on, like, Daniel Levy, that he just needs to spend, I think, and take one more risk, and I think it would be rewarding for Pochettino, the Tottenham fans, and the Tottenham players, and it'd be a great story to tell of moving into the new stadium and winning a trophy.
I agree. I think you've summed that up well, and I'm going to say the same thing about next season. In their make or break, they have to win a trophy next year. That's when it becomes a must. If they don't, big problems, and I can see him getting sacked, and I would probably agree with the sacking, because not in terms of, if he doesn't win a trophy next year, he's taken them as far as he can. That is his limit. He's progressed them from one stage to another, and then they need to bring another manager who's going to progress them that little bit further. And we see it in football. It's a realistic thing, and it can well happen, and we'd understand it, and we'd know exactly why. And I feel like Tottenham right now, they need... It's going to be hard for them. I don't think they can really do anything this season, but try and do as well as they can. Look for some signings in the summer, which are really going to make some impact, and someone who's going to walk into that Tottenham side, rather than someone who's going to be a backup, someone who's going to play every now and again. Get someone big, get a big name in, get someone who's going to be in that side week in, week out. They've lost Dembele, a very, very good midfielder, and I don't really see who they're going to be replacing with that. Harry Winks? Not really the quality they want right now. Yes, a good youngster, one for the future, but
they just
not
need
right now.
A player to lift them at the club, to think, oh wait, wow, they are still competing. Like, of course, like as you said, Dembele's gone. It's a perfect opportunity to go out in the market, get a midfielder that will make people go, wow, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of someone they can bring in off the top of my head right now that would create something that you think, oh, this is good. Like, I'm not sure.
Almost like
you want
Kondogbia kind of player, or
okay.
I don't know, like a Rakitic or someone like that almost.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a tough one.
But I'm sure they got their agents and their scouts looking at many players.
Yeah,
they've already got their eyes on, rather than our suggestions.
Exactly.
If they do want any suggestions, they know the email. Hit us an email, and we'll get back to you soon on that.
Exactly, and of course our other contact details will be at the end of the show if you want to even go on Twitter and tweet us, Tottenham. But yes, that kind of brings us to an end of our Premier League kind of talk. I think we've summarised the big matches and the kind of the interesting results of this midweek kind of fixtures. So. Of course, we mentioned transfers earlier, so we're just going to do a bit of a short section on our club's transfers. I know you've been doing some calculations in your head and with other Gillingham fans, and you're thinking about how much money you have to spend this transfer window and why hasn't been spent. So if you want to take away with Gillingham's transfer news.
Sure. So I think like what inspired me to have a look at this was when I went to the Swansea game in their programme. I'll just get it up here. There were some mistakes, but one thing which was true was they basically said our record signing, and I thought that's quite interesting to see sort of who it was. Carl Azabar, I'm not sure of the player. I think he was a striker for us, and we got him from Reading for 600k, and I was like, well, there's a fair amount, but it's not a huge amount for a record signing. And I looked at the year, and it was in 1998, and I was like, that is over 20 years ago was our record signing, and I was like, yes, we were in the Championship back then, and I take that point on board. However, I then worked out how much we got from the Cup. We got 225,000, not including tickets, broadcasting things. This is just pure FA giving us money for reaching certain rounds. And then someone actually worked out that including, for example, tickets and things, they estimated around 600k would be how much money additionally on top of our normal transfer budget, whatever, we'd have to spend on transfers. And we've literally done nothing this season, apart from we've sold a striker, but no one knows the price of it in January. And we've also loaned Billy King, a Dundee winger / striker. And we've got him in, but I was just shocked, and I was like, think of the money we got from Bradley Dack. I don't know where that's gone. So I was like, why have we not signed anyone? Where is this money going? And it just made me sort of bring up the point of sort of clubs like ours. We need to be bringing in, players to improve and things like that. And he hasn't quite brought anyone in. I don't know whether this is a chairman or a manager thing. I'd probably say it's more of a Paul Scally rather than Steve Lovell thing, but I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But it wasn't great, and I was quite shocked by that. And then I started to speak to Sam about how Swansea are doing, and it seemed like you're not doing too much better on the transfer front. And what actually made me a little bit of a giggle or smirk, I don't know if you heard at the beginning of the podcast, but when you said, Sam, you said about Gillingham signing and Swansea transfer efforts. I just found that quite funny, as in it's just been an effort, hasn't it? We've tried.
Exactly. At least Gillingham have made a signing and aren't losing players as such. Because I looked at Billy King on the internet because I hadn't heard of him before, but he's played Scottish Premiership football and Scottish Championship football for a while now, a consistent kind of level, playing lots of games for Dundee, Inverness and Hearts. Still only 24, and they're capped at under 21 level for Scotland. So I think you've kind of got yourself a bit of a deal there, and maybe hopefully there's a clause for you that might mean you sign him in the future. So that he might be on big wages. You never know. That could be where some of the money is going.
True.
But as again, you expect after selling like Dak and Gazaniga to kind of get some new players in, but we'll see how it goes on that front. But yeah, you're fortunate compared to Swansea at the moment. Obviously, all of our money has run out from the Premiership kind of parachute funds, because I guess we have to spend a lot on wages and it's kind of wearing us down. But there's some good news on that front. Bonnie looks like he's going to be going to Qatar. Hopefully that will be done soon. I mean, I love Bonnie. Absolutely great player for us, and I'll remember him for all the kind of goals he scored. But his second spell has not been great, and he's now eating up the wages, basically, and he's got to go. And it's the same to say, but yeah, and I think he knows he has to go. Bit worrying, though. I don't know if you know, but Daniel James, a very kind of good prospect for us, who's come through this season out of nowhere, really. A Welsh international. Looks like he might be going to Leeds for 5 million, which is a bit of a kick in the teeth when basically he's a Swansea player for most of his academy career. Basically been grown up at the club. All of his friends are at the club. Like Ollie McBurney had to delete a tweet saying he's not going with an angry face, because probably because he is going to go. But this is going to be a real kick in the teeth because we've made him, and he's going before he's even had a chance to stay a whole season in the first team. Monteiro looks to be leaving on loan to West Brom, which is another bit of a kick in the teeth as well, just so he gets back. Fur's probably going to be leaving at the end of the season as our club captain, probably to Fenerbahce on like when he's out of contract. So it's a lot of outs. The only in we have to speak of is kind of just a rumour, and that is Andy King coming in on loan or on a permanent deal from Leicester, because of course we did have him at the end of last season on loan, and we would have kept him if we had stayed up, but because we didn't stay up, he didn't want to stay. So it could be a move there, but it's unlikely, and I think we'll end up just not doing anything in this transfer window, sadly.
Yeah, I feel like it's not great on both our fronts, but at least you might be making a bit of money, and at least Gillingham have brought someone in.
Exactly.
And just a little sort of, where do you think, just a little question at the end, where do you think Swansea are going to finish this season?
Well, I think if we lose Daniel James and we lose Monteiro, it's going to mean that we're not, I think playoff-wise is even becoming more unlikely. We are still 6 points off playoffs, which is not a bad situation to be in, especially in the Championship. But I'm not sure, because we have such a small squad. It's going to be really hard to mount a challenge. I think we've got when our players are on form, and when we click, and when we dig in, we can get wins. But I just don't think we can do it consistently enough. So I think we're going to finish probably in 9th position this season, which is not bad considering all the youth we have in our team. And I think it's a season to progress under Graham Potter, and I'm excited for next season to see how these players can do again with maybe some more players to help out. And on that note, where do you think Gillingham are going to finish? Because I know they're hovering above relegation zone at the moment. Do you think they're well safe, or do you think they can drop back in?
I feel like we will be safe and we will be fine, but it is one of those. It's not quite nervous, because I never really feel that worried about Gills going down, because we quite often stay around it but never drop into it, and it's never reality, and we never really get that worried about it. I think we'd be fine, and we have been the last couple of seasons. I can't see us going down, but I'd really like to see us, maybe Billy King comes in and we see just a bit of a spark in the team, and things start to go well, and just a good run of form to end the season, and maybe just to build, because it's been quite a lot of seasons now just sitting in League One, doing nothing. It's a little bit boring, and it's just like, can we just see some excitement? I know, well, my dad would rather us get relegated to sort of spark some ignition and say we've got to do something now, and see a season of us winning lots of games and going up. But I could never accept relegation like that. I feel like I just want to see us have an all right end to the season, and then hopefully let's just push, and let's be a bit of we finished mid-table this year. Next year we could start to push for the playoffs, and I feel like that should always be our aim for the season, to sort of mid-table playoffs. But at the moment it's not quite done well. But we haven't even played that poorly. We just have good and bad games, and tend to be quite inconsistent, go for a run of a couple of bad games and get a couple of good wins, but it's always less wins than losses.
Because I think, obviously, you're a big enough club to be in the mix for playoffs and Championship football, and obviously you haven't been there in a while, but I think our seasons, though we're in different ends of the table, I think we are both kind of suffering the same situation where it's kind of inconsistency is hampering us, but if things go well at the end of the season, I think both of our seasons next year could be better than our last. So yeah, it's a similar kind of story, isn't it?
Certainly hope so.
Yeah, exactly. Well then, that kind of wraps up the podcast on a kind of a nice note as such. Hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. Of course, we're going to be doing a kind of review between me and Jake of the Swansea Gillingham match at some point. Of course, if you haven't checked it out, we have done a preview on our channel, and we have also done a match report, because of course Jake was lucky enough to have gone. So go check that out. And of course, it is transfer deadline day. I think it should be a national holiday today, but it's not, sadly. And we're going to be doing something special for that, so check that out tomorrow. It should be really interesting, and it should be kind of a different thing to watch, so it should be fun. Other than that, do you have anything to add, Jake?
I just think keep up to date with football, keep up to date on our podcast, keep going. We're seeing quite a boost in subscribers, views, followers, that sort of thing at the moment. We're very grateful for that. Potentially could having something new with someone helping us out with a graphics front, but once again, don't want to say too much because I don't want to promise anything that won't happen. But yeah, so things are going forward. Things are looking good. Up the commentary box.
Exactly. So, of course, enjoy your footballing weekend. It's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. If you'd like to get involved with us online, you can do so on social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram and Snapchat. We do lots of polls and posts on there. That is all under Box Commentary. And then secondly, if you'd like to listen to our podcasts on different websites and devices, you can do so on iTunes, Spreaker and YouTube. All of those are under the Commentary Box. And then lastly, to personally get involved with us by email to ask any questions or queries, you can do under the email of thecommentary.box.contact@gmail.com.